All right, you guys, we are back and we are live. And I'm trying to get up on Instagram. Hold on. I had it. Where'd it go? What's up, guys? Don't mind me. My Instagram just crapped out on me. Give me 1 second here. All right, there we go. All right. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome back to our daily live feed. As you are logging on, if you would like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you have to go. We do hair, makeup, suits and posing, all the fun stuff when it comes to competing. Welcome. As you get on here, go ahead and say hello. Log on. Good evening. Good evening. As always, we'll give it a few minutes for everybody to get logged on here, and then we'll get rolling with tonight's wrap up of New York Pro. What's up? What's up? What's up, Lily? Lily Dong's over here on Instagram. So, guys, if you're logging on Instagram, you can watch on Instagram. That's no problem. But we will be screen sharing photos over on YouTube and Facebook. So it is a better experience if we're on YouTube or Facebook. If you click the link in my bio on Instagram, that'll take you over. You'll find the link. Right as you begin your cardio. Perfect. There you go. Yeah, this is great cardio theater right here. And also, ladies, like Lily is on here on Instagram right now. So if you happen to be in the show that I'm talking about and you want to go ahead and volunteer what your judging feedback was, feel free. I'm always willing to listen to that. Most of the time when I'm at shows, I will actually go and talk to judges myself too and find out what they have to say, what their thoughts are, just that I'm not talking out my ass. So, yeah, I know time flies. So I know all of the New York Pro stuff has been popping up the last few days too. Like it was like 1 day behind from last year. So yeah, like check-ins last year were the day of New York Pro this year. So yeah. And also, if you guys are looking to get a suit or you need a suit makeover, that kind of thing, this QR code right here, that's my free suit webinar right here that I do every Thursday. Check it out. Scan that QR code and come in on my free suit makeover webinar. Cool? Yeah, getting through your prep cardio. A lot of people are in prep right now. This week, we will be able to do a prep update live on Thursday. We've been doing those quite a bit. I didn't do them the last few weeks because I've been out of town the last few weeks. So we'll do that for sure this week and get caught up on that because there's definitely some things I want to talk about that have been going on with my own. I'm not in prep, but my own off-season stuff. So okay, so for those of you that are on live right now, how many of you actually listened to my Spotify from either New York or from Pittsburgh? And while I'm waiting, I will go ahead and pull that Spotify up. There you go. So the QR code that now is up there, if you scan on that, that'll take you to my Spotify channel. That has the commentary, the live commentary on there from Pittsburgh and from New York, as well as an interview with Jessica Wilson too. There's an interview there. So that's a pretty cool little interview that we did at New York. She is also prepping for the Masters Olympia. So we talked a little bit about that. So check that out. I think you'll find that kind of interesting too. But yeah, who listened to it? Who listened to the Spotify coverage? I know a lot of you did because I was watching my analytics. So I ended up doing commentary for wellness and for bikini at both shows. Honestly, I was thinking about not doing it for New York. Awesome. I love that you love that interview with Jessica. I was thinking about not doing it for New York for wellness because it was basically the same lineup over again. And they had 2 separate sets of tickets. So they had a different prejudging in the morning at 8 a.m. and then they had another prejudging at noon. So I was like, do I really want to go to both just to get wellness? It was going to be a repeat, but I was like, I'm here, might as well do it. So I went and did it. Good. I'm glad you guys listened to it. So we're going to go a little bit into the results of wellness. I'm going to pull up the top 4 for wellness, so that you guys can see how that kind of went out. They only did the one call out, really, because there's only 6 girls. So we're going to talk about the top 4. It was almost a repeat of Pittsburgh, right? Not quite. We have a few things that we want to talk about with that too. Just was one of the women she met in the locker room. Oh, nice. Very nice. Cool. About Jessica. Jessica's awesome. So if you ever get a chance to meet her in person at one of these shows or something, take the time. She's super sweet. She will talk to you no matter what and give you a big smile and a big hug every time. So you'll enjoy that. Listen to the interview. Like I said, the Spotify's right here. So go ahead and listen to the interview if you didn't, because she talks a little bit about her prepping for the Masters Olympia and why she's so focused on that particular show too, right? Okay, so let's talk about New York. Where's my screens? Well, it's going to pull my screen up. Oh, technology, what are you doing to me? Ah, there we go. Now it's getting it. Okay, just took a second. Okay, right here. And that's wellness. There we go. Yeah, just talking about her mom there made me cry. Oh, yeah, I know, right? I got to meet her mom. Very, very sweet. She got a little tipsy at the bar after the show. It was super cute. Yeah, she's definitely very dedicated for sure. 100%. So, but yeah, it was a fun time. So her mom had a good time and really enjoyed it and everything as well, which she was really happy about as well. That's the first time that her mom got to watch her on stage ever. So she was very happy about that. So let's talk about wellness here at New York. So in 4th place, we have Adina. Now I'm not sure if this, I'm assuming this is a pro debut for her. I'm not really sure. We don't have any other contest history here for her. So I'm assuming this is a pro debut. And overall, not a bad package. Not a bad package at all. Now, what I will say is that her glam definitely needed some work. I don't know if she did her own makeup or what, but her makeup was very, very muddy. And it just did not do her any favors. Let me pull up one of these photos here. That's a little bit more of a close up so you can see it. There we go. So you can see even from this photo, the makeup just wasn't a very good job. So if she had an artist, get a different artist. If you did it yourself, get somebody to do it for you, that kind of thing. And then the hair look was decent, but it could have been a little bit more zhuzh too for the hair look. So overall, that part of the presentation wasn't great, but she did have really good posing. Now you can also see here too that her bikini top isn't fitting her quite right. It's just like the suit is almost like a little bit too small on her all the way around. So I would have just liked to see a little bit of a bigger top on her. Same thing on the bottoms, and mainly because of the way she posed on the bottoms, it wasn't a great look. Let's see if I can get a back shot here for you where I can show you what I mean. Yeah, this one will show you right here. So it's just really close to showing too much here. It's just too small. This suit's just too small. Just is what it is. Needs to be a little bit bigger. But overall, not a bad package. In my opinion, she was a little bit too conditioned, which made her a little bit too grainy, a little bit too hard. If she had been a little bit fuller, this would have looked a lot better. If she had been a little bit fuller, this suit cut might not have looked quite so small, but because she was so lean, it absolutely did. It absolutely looked too small on her because she was too lean. But overall, the shape of her is not bad. She needs some more glutes. I'd like to see, even on her, I'd like to see just a little bit more delt, and that's just a fullness thing as well. I don't think she needs to grow any more delts. I think she just needs to be a little bit fuller because that would give her a little bit of a better shape here. And I'd like to see some more fullness to her hair. Like I said, the hair look wasn't terrible, but it's just a little stringy. She needs some extra extensions back there to cover her back up. And again, just give her a better illusion in the back. This just wasn't a very aesthetic shape on top, and that was mainly because of her shoulders and because of her hair. If she could have pumped her shoulders up a little bit, again, I'm not saying she needs to grow her shoulders, because remember, wellness is not about the upper body, but I'm just saying some fullness, some roundness. We want roundness, and she wasn't very round, right? She was very depleted, very lean, right? So just another just pop to it would have been better. And again, a little bit more hair extensions back there would have helped with her back as well. It just wasn't a complete look, basically. So I think with a few tweaks, I think that this look could have been a lot better on her. Could have showcased her a lot better. And I think it was more about those fine tuning details. Like I said, with her glam, her makeup, her posing was pretty good. But just some fullness to her physique, some roundness to her physique. And I think she could make those tweaks and do better in a show in a couple of weeks. Like, this isn't something that she needs a lot of time with. It's just little tiny, like probably peak week type stuff. Then beyond that, I would say she needs to grow some glutes. She needs some more upper outer glute, inner glute there. Just pop it out a little bit more. And just overall a little bit more size from the back, just to make her a little bit better balanced from the back. But again, overall, not a bad package. Let's go to Lily, who ended up in 4th. Again, another nicely put together package for Lily. One thing I like about her is I just like her proportions. I like her waistline. I like how tight it is. Now, she does have a longer torso. When she gets into the front pose, you can see that a little bit more. You could tell in this particular show she came in fuller, which I felt like was a better look. Personally, I liked her a little bit fuller, a little bit rounder. I just think this was, in my opinion, a little bit better than what she did at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, she was a touch tighter, but also not quite as full. So I liked this particular look better. I would like to see her makeup a little darker. I noticed that her tan was great. Tan was nice and dark. Looks good. Suit color looked great. I'd like to see that the makeup match a little bit better to the rest of her body. It was a little bit white. But overall, presentation wise, it was a pretty look. It was a pretty look with the makeup, tan, all of that. I just like to see the actual shade of foundation a little bit darker. You can see here in this back shot, she's not quite as tight as she was in Pittsburgh, but she is fuller. She's rounder. She's got more pop. So I'm assuming they probably did this because she probably got feedback in Pittsburgh saying that she needed to fill out a little bit, she did do that. And I actually like this look better. I think this was a better look. I think in general, she just needs to add another layer of size and then pull this kind of fullness and just pull this a little bit more, and this would be good. Yeah, she was a little bit soft for the show, but I'm going to get into that in a second when I get into the top two in just a second here. Overall, though, like I said, I liked this look better. I liked the fuller look better. And I'm going to get into that when I talk about the next two girls as well. But you're right. I mean, as far as this is concerned, she just needs another layer of muscle in order to get both at the same time. So that's what I like to see. I like to see the tightness that she had in Pittsburgh with the fullness that she had here. And the only way that's going to happen is by growing a little bit more. Right. So we've said this before when we talk about Pittsburgh, she just needs to be a little bit bigger. She's just a little bit small in comparison to the other girls. You can't change that in a week. You know, what you can do in a week is you can get a little bit leaner. You can get a little bit fuller. And that's what she did. She got a little bit fuller. So she tested this look. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got nothing to lose, right? So you want to try and come in a little bit better. That's the best thing you can do. Right. So I think this was the right move going into this show. And I think at this point, she just needs to grow a little bit. But I do think if she was in a show where she wasn't up against girls that were big, like Giselle, and I'm saying, I don't know if it's Tiffany or Tiffany. I've heard it pronounced both ways. So I'm sorry. I'm sticking with Tiffany, which was second place. So if that's wrong, I'm sorry. But that's just what I heard. So I'm sticking with it. But when she's up against girls that are big like that, it is what it is. It's a size game at that point, right? So overall, again, I think this was a better look, but I understand that she was tighter in Pittsburgh. So it's just a toss-up as far as which one you want to go with. I liked this one better. I like the fullness, though. That's me. I like girls fuller. So it is what it is. That's my preference. So this is Tiffany. So Tiffany and Lily basically switched places from Pittsburgh as far as placings are concerned. And the biggest thing that she did here versus what she did in Pittsburgh is she got tighter, like massively got tighter. Her presentation was a little bit smoother here too in New York. That'll happen after getting on stage a few times. But what happened here mostly is she just has the size and she got better conditioned. So that really helped her in this particular lineup. Plus, again, she does have the size to compare with Giselle. So that's also very helpful for her here. So I thought it was a great look. I was talking to JM, and I believe this is her third show ever. She did one show and turned pro, I think in Romania. It was her first show. She won the overall. And then she went and did her pro debut in Pittsburgh. And then this was her second show ever. So it's literally her third show ever. She's like 25 or something like that, really young. So this was a really great package for her. This was definitely better than Pittsburgh because she was tighter. Where she's going to fall into some problems when she gets into some of these bigger shows is she does have a thicker waistline. So she's going to have to work on that a little bit. I mean, you can even see it here in this particular pose. She is thicker and her waistline's short. She's got a very short torso, so that makes you look even thicker. So she's going to have to work with that a little bit, kind of shape her frame a little bit. But I mean, she could easily win a show pretty quickly. Even with the proportions that she has now. But when she gets up next to these top Olympians, the top fives and all that kind of stuff, that's when you're going to see those kinds of things come into play. So bringing that waistline in a little bit. Let's look at her back shot. So from the back, she could still stand to be a touch tighter here. Now, she's got great shape, great balance, great like overall glutes, like legs, everything looks really good here. She could stand to be a touch tighter and then pop it a little bit more, right? So same thing that I talked about with Lily. You know, Lily, this show came in and she popped it a little bit more than what she had in Pittsburgh. Lily just needs more size. Tiffany needs to just bring the conditioning in just a little bit more and then pop it out. Right? She's got the size. She doesn't need any more size. She just needs to fill it out. So if she could get like a pound or two leaner and then just fill it all out, she'd be on the money right here. But like I said, this is a much better look than what she did in Pittsburgh. So to be able to turn around and make improvements in a week is a big deal, right? And having the fact that this is her third show ever, this is a big deal as well, right? So nothing to be upset about here. She should be really, really happy with this package. Coming in second in New York and this particular lineup was a very, very good thing for her. I do expect to see her win a show relatively quickly, like I said, and I do think she will qualify for the Olympia this year. So really, really good package here for her. Much better here than what she had in Pittsburgh. Okay, so Giselle won, as we assumed she would. Let's talk about a few things with Giselle here. Before we get into physique things, the obvious thing that everybody's talking about is the silver suit, white suit, whatever you want to call. I saw a lot of people say they love the suit and all this kind of stuff. You got to realize this is Giselle, right? She has nothing to lose doing a suit like this. Right? She won a show in orange, and I would never put a normal girl in orange, but she can pull it off because she's Giselle, right? So don't go looking at her and say, now I want a white suit or I want a silver suit, because just because she can do it doesn't mean you can do it. And I will say, just looking at this photo right here, you can see it washes her out. You can see just from this one picture here that it washes her out, right? So it was not a great suit color on her. I liked her much better in the pink in Pittsburgh. When she walked on stage, it was like all I could see was suit, and that's never a good thing. Okay. Now, again, go ahead and take the risk. She has nothing to lose here. She's qualified for the Olympia 3 times over or whatever it is, twice over, however many shows she's won. So you don't have anything to lose. You might as well try it and see what the judges have to say about it so that when you come into the Olympia, you can do it or you cannot. If I was her, I would not do this at the Olympia. That's just me. I mean, it looked like a disco ball on stage. As much as this does wash her out in this particular photo, when I saw it in real life, it was like blinding, right? Because when you put those crystals on top of that and you hit the light on top, it is nothing but like disco ball effect. So I personally was not a fan. I much prefer that jewel tone color. The pink that she had in Pittsburgh was perfect, I think. So if I was advising her, I would tell her to go back to the pink. With all of that said, I actually liked her package here in New York better than what she did in Pittsburgh. She was a touch softer, okay, which for me, I liked. Again, I go back to, I like fullness, I like roundness, I like softness. I don't like overly conditioned. I felt like Pittsburgh, she was overly conditioned. I felt like here she softened up just a little bit, and I liked that, right? Now, this could also be attributed to the fact that she looks like her tan is a little bit lighter too, right? She looks like her tan's a little bit lighter. Maybe her tan's not lighter. Maybe it's just the suit. But everything about her looks like it's a little bit washed out because that suit color is just so friggin' bright, right? So this is where a suit can really make or break you, right? And again, I go back to what I said before. She might as well experiment right now. There's nothing wrong with experimenting right now because she is Olympia qualified. So when you get on stage after you're already Olympia qualified, you might as well try new things. Try things that may work or may not. If I was her, I wouldn't do this suit again. That's my 2 cents. I would go back to the pink. Do everything else the same, but go back to the pink. What's up, Dad? My dad's back. So that's just my 2 cents here again. Personally, like I said, the overall physique look, I thought she was better here. I liked her better here. And again, I go back to the fact that I don't want to see this division become too conditioned and too hard. And I don't think that she was that here. I think she was softer, rounder, fuller, and I liked that particular look. So you can see here just how round she is, how full she is. She is not as sharp as she was when she was in Pittsburgh. She doesn't have those tight drops in the hamstrings like she had in Pittsburgh. And again, I go back to, I like that. Now, I don't know if the judges told her that they liked this better. I don't know if the judges told her they liked her better in Pittsburgh. I don't know. I'm saying I like this better. I'm saying I like the fullness better. I like the softness better. She actually, when she did her walk to the back, she had a little bit of jiggle in her backside. So that told me that that right there told me that she was a little bit softer. You know what I mean? So you got to watch that. I wouldn't really necessarily want to see you jiggle on stage. But again, that's just a posing thing. She can fix that pretty easily. And I would keep this physique. That's me personally. Now, again, if the judges told her they liked her better in Pittsburgh, then that's the scenario, right? But I liked this better. What do you guys think? Do you guys like the look where she's softer, or do you like the look where she's harder? Type in the comments. Let me know what you think. Again, I've been very vocal about this, that I don't like women's divisions getting too conditioned. I think that that's the wrong direction for women's divisions because it's incredibly difficult to get that conditioned as a female. We have estrogen. We have stuff that makes us a little softer, and we should be a little bit softer personally. So I like the look softer better personally. I like that direction. So that's me making it very clear that softer, right? I don't know if that's what the judges told her. I don't know what the feedback was, but I like this better. I think this is a better look personally. So yes, I agree that I'd like to see the size come down as well. Softer and fuller and a little less size. 100% agree. 100% agree. Good. I'm glad to hear that you guys like the softer. And I like that you guys are typing this in here. I want this into the comments because then when people come back and they watch this or they see your comments on the screen, they can see that this is something that we like, right? You know, we like I've said before, we have a voice, right? So this is our voice right here. This is your opportunity to say, yes, I like this, right? Yeah, it's less of a sheesh moment, but she still is. The only reason why it's less of one is because she came in so hard last week. You know what I mean? If she hadn't come in that hard last week, we would be saying sheesh to this, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, the hard part about this sport is that the freak factor is always a thing that we look for, right? It's really hard to get past the freak factor. We want the freak factor in bodybuilding, right? We want to see the freak factor in bodybuilding. So it's that's what we're drawn to. We're drawn to the more conditioned. We're drawn to that kind of thing. That's why it's so hard to judge female divisions. It's so hard to judge female divisions because it's hard to keep that freak factor in check. We got to remember it has to stay attainable, right? Has to stay in the realm of something that other women want to achieve. So we have to pull our eye back a little bit and say, this is actually a better look. Okay. This is actually a better look for the division, right? So again, that's why I say these things, because I get it. I understand the freak factor is definitely a thing. That's why open bodybuilders are who they are, right? But this is not open bodybuilding. This is wellness, and this is female division, right? So my 2 cents, this was a better package for her overall, but I would go back to the pink suit that she wore in Pittsburgh. That's my 2 cents, right? Definitely deserved the win. And again, going back to, I don't think she looked quite so massive like she did in Pittsburgh because she was a little bit softer. So I do actually like this look a whole lot better for that reason as well. So we still want to pull the size down a little bit. I still want to see less. But again, this is the right direction in my opinion. So, all right, I beat that dead horse. Okay. Let's move over to, yeah, her size and condition gave her the freak factor. Yep. She's more attainable. Correct. Right. Okay. So let's go over to bikini. So guys, bikini was a barn burner. We knew it was going to be a barn burner, all of that. Looking at the comments. Yeah. Her suit was being swallowed up in Pittsburgh. Yep. This was toned down, and I agree. It was definitely better. 100%. So, there's enough women that aspire to look like that. Yep. Absolutely. These comments that are coming in are perfect. That's exactly what I feel as well. 100% agree. 100% agree. Okay. So let's look at Pittsburgh. Let's look at New York. Bikini. This was very, 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 very tight. Okay. All the way, like, I'm going to talk about the top 7 because we had 7 in first call out. So we're going to go through each one of them little by little because they did move them around quite a bit. It was pretty clear from the start that it was going to be between Amy and Rihanna, but once we got outside of that, it was very, very close between everybody else, specifically in that first call out. So let's start with Maria. Maria Costa, I thought looked great. As soon as she came out on stage, I was like, yeah, I definitely can see her in the first call out here. She's one that I've mentioned before that it's just going to be a matter of time. She's going to win a show at some point. This was a very competitive show, so I understand why she landed where she did. The biggest thing with her, you can see it here from just this front shot, is she's built a little bit thicker, right? She's a little bit shorter. She's built a little bit thicker through the waistline, so she's going to have to pull that in, but still stay full at the same time. I felt like as prejudging went on for her, she got a little bit flatter as she went through prejudging. I felt like she looked really good when she came out for her individual. But by the time we got to the end of call outs, we were losing quite a bit of pop in her glutes, that kind of thing. So, that can happen. Maybe she just didn't have enough food in her. Maybe she was working through all of her food. Who knows? They could have been trying not to feed her too much so that she didn't blow her waistline out. These are all things you have to think about that could have been going on back, with her day of show, peak week protocol, whatever it might be. In general, this was a very, very good look for her. Let's turn her to the back so you guys can see a back shot. I think this is it, right? Am I in? Yeah. So here's a back shot for her. And I mentioned this as well. She had a little bit of a glaze issue. So you can see it right here. She had a little bit of splotch of glaze. This happened to a few girls where the glaze was just off. There were a few girls in like the second and third call out that were way over glazed, but there was definitely a handful of girls that had splotches of glaze. So whoever was doing their glaze backstage, or maybe they moved stuff around or whatever, but you can actually see it in the photo here. She had a little bit of a splotch, which when you get underneath those lights, it's very, very noticeable. So this looks really good, right? Her individual looked really good. By the time she got through her comparisons, I felt like a lot of these lines in the back kind of softened. She didn't have quite as much pop in the back, that kind of thing. So I think that's where she felt the outside of the first call out. She kind of faded through first call out through the prejudging. And you really saw it when she got into the confirmation rounds next to the other ones that were in the bottom of the first call out. But overall, again, really good look. Just needs to be able to keep that fullness a little bit longer. And I think she'd be good. And also figure out how to keep that waistline in a little bit tighter too. So, but pretty look, pretty hair, pretty makeup, pretty posing all the way through. Did a really good job on her posing. I mentioned that on my Spotify. She was very smooth with her transitions and all of that too. So she did a really good job on that, keeping the glutes up and all of that. All right, Jessica Wilson was in 6th. So we're going to pull Jessica up. Jessica, again, beautiful package, beautiful look. Same critiques as always that I have for her as far as her back shot is concerned. She needs a little bit more upper outer glute. But something she got, and I talked to her, she actually got judging feedback, and I talked to her about her judging feedback. They told her she's looking a little small, specifically in the legs, like she's losing a little bit of size. So she was very happy to hear that feedback because that helped her determine what her next step is as far as her next show and how she's going to play the rest of her season out. But I see that. You can kind of see that here. She's looking, even in this front shot, she's looking a little bit upper body dominant. It's almost like she's losing a little bit of size on that lower half. So I definitely see that here. I think she could have been a little bit darker on her tan. I think that could have helped. But at the same time, I do think she's losing a little bit of size in her leg. So this front shot didn't quite wow like it usually does. And I think it's from the legs. I think it's from that particular spot. But her overall look is very, very polished, very, very beautiful. Overall posing is beautiful, all of that as well. And the only reason why I feel like her legs are down is because we've seen her with fuller legs, right? So because we've seen her fuller, now we know, okay, she looks a little bit like her legs have come down a little bit. So when we pull her to the back, here's a back shot for you. So again, upper outer glute, that's always going to be a thing for her. That's always going to be the critique. But you can see her legs are kind of diminished back here. We don't see quite that tightness in the hamstring tie-in. She was tighter here than she was in Pittsburgh. She was tighter from the back, but she's lost a little bit of that fullness and that muscle. Now, something else that you can see here from this photo, and I know that they probably did this on purpose to try to make her glutes look a little bit bigger, is her suit bottoms. I think her suit bottoms are sitting up too high. If you bring the suit bottoms down about an inch right here so that they come and they cover up this like bony part right here, I think that would actually help round her out a little bit better. But I do know that they've tried a lot of different things with her suit. So I'm sure this was not the first position that they put this suit in to try to get that to really pop for her. So I'm assuming they put it here on purpose, but I'd like to see what it looks like pulling it down just a little, just so that we can cover up this, back tailbone area a little bit more, because I think that would help to actually pop her glutes a little bit better. So that's my 2 cents there. But in general, I just like to see, again, like her feedback is more upper outer glute, more legs. Okay. So she's got to pull some legs up, get some more conditioning back there. And that'll just be size. That'll just be putting on size right there. Okay. So back to training, right? Back to training for her. Next, we have Shanice. Shanice is a character, cracks me up. Beautiful look here. Overall, really well-balanced package for her. Where she's going to have issues when she stands up next to these top Olympians and things like that is just her overall body structure. She has very long legs and a short torso. Hi, that's me too. I know that problem really, really well. So when it comes to her actual structure, it's difficult to stand up next to some of these girls that are really well balanced with the perfectly proportioned torsos and legs, right? But when we're looking at how she came in for this show, I felt like she came in for this show really well. She's well conditioned, but not over the top, tight waistline, all of that. Her posing was very beautiful. All of that. Her overall look was very beautiful. Just she had a really beautiful look on stage. It's just hard to compare to these top 4 with the structure, right? Now, the other part where she can use some size and some help is in the back shot. So when we get her into the back shot here, again, she came in really, really well for this show, but she needs to get some more upper outer glute pop here. She's all legs, right? She's all legs from the back. Again, I know the problem well. I know the problem really well. So she's very, very long. So in order to get her glutes to really shock and awe, she's got to pop the upper outer glute, right? I'd love to see some more upper outer glute here. That would really put this and bring this whole package together, because I think her conditioning is on point. I think her fullness is on point. Her overall look and everything is on point. It's just with her structure, she's got to do a few things that are a little different than some other people would have to do. Anybody else with glutes like this and shorter legs would look fine, but she's got to get some more on there in order to really make those stand out. Her shoulders, she could pull her arms down a little bit, but I feel like the reason why she's posing this way is because of her shape. If she was to bring her arms down, what's going to happen is that's going to give her less of a V into her waistline in the back. So I get why she's posing like this. She's actually not that tall. I want to say she might be 5'6.5" ish. I think she's not super tall. But she looks it because her legs are so long. So, but again, I understand why she's posing like this in the back, because it helps to accentuate the smallness of her waistline. If she was to bring those arms and elbows down, I think that would actually hurt her. I think it would actually make her legs look a little bit longer. So you got to remember, sometimes you have to pose a little bit unconventionally in order to show your frame off a little bit better, right? So yeah, so she's all legs. When we get to the end here, I'll try to pull up a comparison shot of the first call out, and then we can see, because I'm pretty sure she's just slightly taller than everybody else. I want to say 5'6.5" ish, I think, something like that. Her hair's okay. Again, going back to her proportions, you can see her lower back, right? It V's in enough that you can see her lower back. So if she was to cut it again, it's not going to help because her torso is so short. Got to go back to her structure. I know normally I say I want to see a little bit of lower back there, but because she's got such long legs, this actually helps. Okay, it's going to make her look even longer on the lower body if she cuts that hair. Okay, so again, you got to go back to this is why there's not a one size fits all. This is why there's not a one size fits all for these people, right? You can see her lower back because she's got those pieces of hair in the front. So you can see that. You can see the pop of her upper outer glute. It's not being covered up. If she was to cut her hair, it's going to make her legs look even longer and her upper body look even shorter. So again, while this doesn't fit the rules for the best back pose, it fits her frame. Okay. Okay. While we're on the topic, let me go ahead and pull up a comparison. Might as well do that right now since we're right here. I think this is first call out right here. Yeah, this is first call out right here. Oh, it's not first call. This is initial comparisons, but you can see what she looks like next to like Amy. And I think Amy's like 5'3", 5'4". I think Evie's like just over 5 foot. So you can see she's not super tall. She's probably 5'6", 5'6.5", right? She's probably 5'6", 5'6.5" So, because Valeria is what, 5'11". So when you look at these, her next to everybody else, she is slightly taller, but she's not super tall. She's probably 5'6"-ish, 5'6.5", 5'7", somewhere in that range. So she's on the upper end, but she's not super tall. She's just all legs. Look at how high her hips are in comparison to everybody else in this lineup. Look at how long her legs are in comparison to everybody else. The only one that beats her on legs is Valeria, and Valeria is a good 4 inches taller than her at least. Right? So just is what it is. These are structures, right? You have to pose and you have to work with what you got. You're born that way, right? Okay, so let's go back. And to Ellie. So Ellie ended up in fourth. It was a coin toss between her and Evie, really, honestly. There we go. So I'm trying to get the picture to pop up for me here. Okay. So from the front, this front pose works for her. I have a hard time critiquing this with her because normally you would see somebody pose a little bit more sideways and she is posing a little bit more straight on, but I've seen her pose sideways and it's not the best look for her. She does have a thicker waistline when she poses to the side. So coming a little bit more straight on, I'm sure this is something she played with a lot. Not a fan of the finger. The finger looks a little bit weird. The pinky, she needs to relax that a little bit. But overall, I think this was probably the best choice for her because again, going back to, if she was to go and twist to the side quite a bit, she does have a thick oblique there. So when you have a thick oblique there, that doesn't work by twisting that much, right? It just doesn't work. So I'm sure she played with this a lot. I'm sure she played with this particular pose a lot. So I'm sure this is why she posed like this. I'm not a huge fan of the Instagram knee toe thing, but I'm also seeing this a lot more often. And I'm starting to do this in my own pose in order to balance my lower half of my frame. So again, I get why she's doing it. I understand why she's posing this way. Yeah, and so to the comment of I liked Ellie's look a little bit better. Yeah, I kind of agree. It's the hard part where I think where Evie edged Ellie out is the waistline. I think that's where she edged her out. Because from the back, I actually liked Ellie better from the back. But it's just like, it's like flipping a coin between these two. Like, I get why they placed where they were, but I'm sure it could have flipped tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it was very, very close between these two. I kept kind of going back and forth between the two of them. I didn't have one of them solid in third and one of them solid in fourth. I didn't at all. So I think the reason why Evie probably beat her is probably the waistline. And I think the reason why Evie is posing like this is because I'm sure she's gotten feedback about her waistline and she's trying to fix it, right? So again, I get it. I understand why. Because from the back, she looks really, really good from the back. So here's her back shot. She had great pop from the back, that upper outer glute. This is really well balanced between her shoulders, her lower back, and her feet. Like, this is a great X frame from the back. And when you see this in person and you saw this live, she definitely had a lot of 3D pop on her glute. So I definitely liked her glutes better than Evie, 100%. So I liked what she did here. So I think that it's just a matter of, again, it could have been a coin toss here. And I think the reason why Evie beat Ellie is because of the way that her waistline came in. I mean, as long as you can see the number, it doesn't matter what side you put it on. And again, Evie was posing really straight on. So because she's posing really straight on, you can put the button there. If the judges can see it, it doesn't matter, right? So again, when you look at her front pose, let me pull it up. These buttons are huge. So the other thing you got to remember too, these buttons were huge. So here, with the way that she's posing, you can see her number, no problem, right? 134. I can see it. So as long as you can see it, that's all that matters. If she was to put it here, I get why she put it over on the other side. If she just put it on this side, it would have obstructed this whole look and probably made her waistline look worse. So again, that's why you gotta go with what works best for you, right? There's no one size fits all. As long as those judges can read your number, then you're good, right? So I'm sure she played with that front pose a lot. Okay, so Evie. Biggest thing with Evie is she needed more tan. That was one thing. She needed another layer of tan. She was the lightest one in that top four. I could have seen her definitely needing some tan there. Trying to find a good fully front posed pose because that's not fully posed. Hang on. Neither one of these are. So they don't really have her fully posed in that front pose here. One thing I will say is that Evie has a tendency to have her posing be a little bit all over the place sometimes. It was a lot cleaner at this show. A lot more polished at this show. Still can use some work. Still needs some work. The fact that we don't have a fully posed front pose tells you that she could use some work, right? So this is not fully posed. She's got her arm way out, that kind of thing. But you can see here what I was talking about with her waistline versus Ellie's waistline. She has a much tighter waistline here than Ellie did. Evie has a tendency sometimes to come in too conditioned. Her conditioning here was good. She was actually pretty full for her. This was actually a pretty full round look for Evie, which I was happy with. She could still fill out more. She could still keep going. But this is pretty good. This is probably the fullest I've seen her in a while. Now, one thing that I noticed that kind of bugged me, I don't know if you guys have noticed it or not, is that the top of her suit is different than the bottom of her suit. The actual suit colors are different. And that bothered me as soon as she stepped on stage. I like the red better on her for sure, but I would just like to see her bottoms match her top. Like she has the blue tones in her top and she has no blue tones in her bottoms. So I saw that immediately and that just drew my eye. It made me feel like she just mismatched her suit. I don't know if she did that on purpose or not. She always has a tendency to do silly things with her suit. But that drew my attention. It did immediately drew my attention. So match your suit top and bottoms. Now where I think she can improve is her back shot. So from here, and I'm looking at it now, and I think her back shot, I think the suit actually does have some blue crystalling in it, but it just doesn't have it from the front. So I don't know if it's just, I don't know what they did, but this is what it is. So I think she could use some more glute back here. I think she could use some more size. I did hear judging feedback on her, and they did say that she could stand to have some more glute. Her hamstring looks a little bit washed out here, but it's really not. It's more so that she just needs more tan. In person, she looked a little bit flat. She could definitely use some more size in the back on her glutes, upper, outer, pop them out a little bit more. That would really benefit her. The hard part is that she's got to get just glutes and no legs, right? Her legs are definitely dominant if she's not careful. So she's got to be careful with that. And she does need a little bit more glute back here. Overall, I think this was a good look for Evie. I like the fullness. I just like to see a few of the presentation details tweak, few of the poses tweak, suit bottoms tweaked a little bit, and the tan tweaked a little bit. So all those things being said, I don't think she was going to get any better than third place here, even if she had all of those things on point. I think third was probably where she was going to land. But those are just things that she could work with. Those are things she could work on, right? Now, notice her hair is shorter. I've always picked on her about her hair being too long and hitting the top of her suit. It's not doing that here. So good job on cutting the hair. That's always a positive right there when that happens. So good job with that. But yeah, again, overall, this was a solid look for her. I just like to see a few tweaks. Okay, so let's get to the top two, which was Rihanna and Amy. So this was a very, very close call. I thought that Rihanna came in probably the best she could have. This was a fantastic package for her. There's a few things here I wanted to point out. So she wore her natural curls and the judges loved it. This was a really good natural curl look, meaning that it was full of volume, but not so voluminous that it covered her up. It didn't cover her anywhere. It didn't cover her shoulders, didn't do any of those things, didn't diminish her shape. Just added to her overall look. So this was a very, very good look with her curls. I do know that her feedback at her last show is that they wanted to see more arms, more shoulder, that kind of thing. So she posed her front pose a little bit differently for this particular show. I did notice, she actually told me that, and I did notice that when she was on stage. I didn't know that she was doing it on purpose, but she was doing it on purpose because of the feedback that she'd gotten before. And it apparently worked, because her feedback after this was that she needs some more legs. She needs more lower body, which she's never gotten that feedback before. So they did tell her they wanted to see more legs on her, which I understand, because she's another one that has long legs in comparison to her upper body. She has a shorter torso, longer legs. So you add a little bit more size onto those legs, and it's going to help get you a little bit better balance, right? This front pose is killer. This front pose is killer from top to bottom. Conditioning is on point. Waistline is tight. Everything about this is really, really beautiful. Yes, she has a very bubbly shape. Yes, she absolutely does. This looks fresh, healthy, round. These are all of the things that we want to see in a bikini competitor, right? These are the things that we want to see. These are the pluses that we want to see here. So this is a beautiful package for her, a beautiful look. And honestly, I don't think she could have done much better. Now, she's always going to get feedback to improve something, no matter what you do. Even if you win a show, you're getting feedback on what to improve, right? So like I said, they told her they wanted to see a little bit more leg from her. Okay. So that's what she's going to do. I'm sure that's what she's going to do. But overall, I don't think she could have done much better here. I really don't. I think she did a really, really good job here. Let's do. Edela said I better not ever straighten it again. Oh, Rihanna's on here, by the way. This is Rihanna talking right here. Said I better not ever straighten it again. LOL. She also said I was better at finals. Good. I was outside talking to people during finals. I didn't watch finals, so. Yeah, I heard quite a few people say that they got feedback that they looked better the second day. And I think what happens a lot of times the second day is you got the pressure off, and it's just a matter of you just kind of coast in, so you no longer have the stress kind of thing. So I think people do tend to look a little bit better on the second day. So this is back shot with Rihanna. So again, I don't think there's a whole lot she could have done better here. Now she knows that that I mentioned the tanning splotches. So I again understand the struggle because I had the same problem myself. The tanning splotches underneath the glutes. So that's something that I know Brianna's working on right now. I sent her a few links to check out because I've had to deal with the same thing. But again, the glute fullness, roundness, shape, everything here. Yeah, the laughs. I don't think this could have been much better. The roundness in the shoulders, I don't think that would have been much better. Again, looking at the hair look, notice how it comes down her back, but it doesn't cover any of her shape, doesn't cover her shoulders, doesn't cover the things that we want to see. So the shape of the hair is really on point. Now, the issue comes down to, and I told Rihanna this too, is just genetics in general. She's got a really round, full, bubbly look, but her glutes are really high as far as the tie-in to the hamstring when that comes and drops down. So when you stand next to somebody like Amy, who has really long hamstring drops, it's hard to beat that look. We talked about this when she was standing next to Romina as well. It's just hard when you've got those genetic shapes. I love this kind of look, this kind of glute look. And I think that, again, she nailed it. I think it came in right where she should be, nice and full, nice and round, all of those things. It's just a visual preference when it comes to the genetic hamstring tie-in. So we're going to get into that when we look at Amy here, and hopefully you guys will see what I'm talking about. But again, I don't think this could have been much better. I really don't. I think this was a very, very good look from the back too. That's what happens. You get into these top tier shows, man. That's what happens. So when we look at Amy, so Amy is our winner. Now, obviously, we kind of assumed that was going to be the case. We thought she was going to come in with a win, and she did. When we're talking about Amy's shape, we've talked about a few of the girls already about how they have longer legs and they have a longer or shorter torso or vice versa or whatever it might be. Amy's genetic shape is incredibly well balanced. From top to bottom, she's incredibly well balanced. She's got that X frame across the top into the waistline down to legs. It's not, her torso's not short. Her torso's not long. Her legs are not short. Her legs are not long. She's like right down. When you're talking about like the three bears, she's just right. She's right down the middle of everything, which is what you want in the sport. This is the genetic lottery, right? On top of all the hard work, obviously everybody puts in a ton of hard work to get up here. I'm not diminishing any of that. By any stretch of the imagination, but she is very, very well balanced with her shape, which is why that makes her such a tough competitor to stand next to. I stand by what I said from Pittsburgh, where she could probably bring her waistline in a little bit tighter. This particular shot isn't fully posed, so she looks like she could use a little bit more shoulder here, but that's not the case. If she was fully posed in this position, that wouldn't be the scenario here. Her legs are pretty streamlined. That's something I know that she's been working on, and I think she can continue to work on that. Same critiques that I had from Pittsburgh here in New York as well. Again, she's got that little bit of an Instagram pose thing going on with the knee. Notice that? I talked about that before with Ellie. This is becoming a thing, and it helps to balance the frame. Now, I also heard that her feedback was that she could go a little bit more of an S curve when it comes to her posing versus quite so turned on to the front to make that X. So you guys have heard me say this several times. In bikini, they're not looking for the X frame. They're looking for an S curve. So you have to remember that with your posing. We're not looking for a figure competitor. We're looking for a bikini competitor. So a few of these girls can bring down the posing a little bit just to give a little bit more of an S. So I know that was one piece of her feedback that she was given. So that's something she can work on. I don't know if she plans on competing again or if she's going to take some time, whatever it may be. But coming off of this win gives her a pretty solid set of feedback and momentum going into whatever she decides to do next, whether it's another show or the Olympia. Let's pull the back shot up. Okay, so this is what I was talking about with the length of the hamstring tie-in. See how hers drop way down here versus Rihanna's were up quite a bit higher, more bubbly, right? They're just two different genetic shapes. And when you've got this genetic drop down, this is very, very difficult to beat. Very, very difficult to beat. So, so when you guys are asking about the Instagram thing, go back and watch this later and go back and watch what I said about Ellie's posing, and you'll see it. So with her shape back here, I think she was a little bit softer here in New York than she was in Pittsburgh. I think in Pittsburgh, she was a little bit tighter. Okay. I don't necessarily think that this particular look in New York is a bad thing. Again, going back to what I said about Giselle, I like a little bit softer. I like a little bit rounder. I like a little bit fuller. That's where my eye goes to. Not so much that they're out of shape, but just enough so that you've got a little bit of softness back there because I believe it is more attainable. This look to me looks more like a Maureen look at the Olympia than what I saw in Pittsburgh. I like this look better. I think it's a little bit fuller, a little bit rounder, and I like it better. So again, softer does not mean bad. Softer in my eyes, in this particular case, looks better. Not everybody. This is not everybody, but this is for her. I think that this was a better look. She's got just as much fullness. She's got just as much roundness, but it's a little bit softer through the hamstring drop. Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Because if we were to take this and go look at Maureen's shots from Olympia, Maureen was the least conditioned at the Olympia and she won it, right? She had the softest hamstring tie-ins from the back and she won it. So this is consistent with what they were looking for. So you got to remember that just because somebody wins a show at this show or that show or whatever, and they're super tight through those hamstrings, that doesn't mean that that's what they're looking for. That just means that was the girl that was there that was best that day. We're always trying to get closest to the Olympia criteria. And to me, this is more Olympia criteria here, right? This is more what they were looking for that fullness and that roundness. So again, going back to, people always ask, why do girls continue to compete after Olympia qualified? This is why, because then you find better looks. You find what works better for you, what hits you closer to the criteria. Again, going back to, Amy can come in a little bit softer because she has nothing to lose, right? She has nothing to lose at this point. She can get more feedback and she can adjust. And if they like her better here, great, go for it. If they like her better at Pittsburgh, great, go for that. Whatever it might be. I think that the feedback was that they didn't see much change between the two shows. Personally, I think she's a little softer here. Personally, I think it's a little bit better. So again, going back to what I said about Giselle. Giselle's a little bit softer. I think it's a little bit better, right? I'm going to say I want fullness. I want roundness. I want softness. That's what I look for. I want that down the middle. So again, I was really happy about the choice they made with Maureen winning the Olympia because she was softer. So of course, I'm going to say I like this look better. That's me, okay? What do you guys think? Do you see what I'm talking about? And what do you think as far as criteria is concerned? Do you like the softer look or do you like the tighter, more sharp look like we saw at Pittsburgh? And not by much. It's not by much, just a touch, just a little bit. But that little bit is what makes a difference for me. I like the little bit. I like the little bit softer. What do you guys think? And yeah, when it comes to the Instagram foot, I'm talking about the back leg. Yep. Rihanna had a more round and bubbly. Rihanna was actually tighter. Rihanna was tighter than Amy, right? And she was a little bit bubblier. So I'd say, and when I say bubblier, what I mean is her actual like genetic shape bubblier, right? Was Rihanna. Fullness, they were really comparable. Rihanna and Amy were really comparable as far as fullness is concerned. But it's just genetic shapes and how you're put together, how you're born, right? Yeah, and Amy's very well balanced from top to bottom. Definitely. Yep, I like the softness too. So again, remember, criteria doesn't change, right? The look that they're looking for doesn't change. What changes is the competitors that come in each week. So what the judges have to do every week is they have to try to get the girl that's closest to the actual criteria. So always remember that. Just because somebody who's a little bit harder wins that day, that doesn't mean that the criteria is shifting. That just means she was the one that was the closest to the criteria that day. Okay, if they've got somebody that's closer to the criteria that's a little bit softer, they're going to go with it. They're going to pick the person that's closest to the criteria. If they don't have anybody that shows up looking that way, though, is what it is, right? Yep, I like softer and fuller too. Yep. So, overall, I thought this was a really good showing for everybody in that top call out. I think that they did a really good job. Even through the second call out was pretty good. Dropped off a little bit once we got into the third call out. We saw some tanning issues, some glazing issues, conditioning issues, posing issues, that kind of thing. All of those things make a difference when you get on these stages, you guys. All of those things make a difference. But I thought that the choices across the board were correct. Again, you go back to, at the end of the day, you've got to pick from who shows up on that stage that day. You got to pick from who shows up. So sometimes the perfect person shows up and they're the closest to the criteria you could possibly be, and sometimes they don't. I'm not going to go into optimum because I just didn't pay attention to it. Again, same thing as what I did for Pittsburgh. I didn't pay attention to the muscle contest show. So I just didn't have the opportunity to review it. That's why I'm not covering it. That's all. So we had two major big shows the last 2 weeks, which is why I covered these two. We have more shows coming up this week though. Yes, I think Val improved. I still don't like her suit choice. I thought her blue suit choice in Pittsburgh was better. I like her softer. She came in softer, which I like, but she needs some more muscle density in order to pop and fill that softness out a little bit. She needs more glutes, that kind of thing. She's another one that needs to pose a little bit more of an S curve versus an X. But overall, I think that her package is better than what she did at the Olympia. She's going in the right direction. She just needs to make some more changes, a few more changes. Just look at her muscle pushing against the skin that creates the lines rather than having to get insane conditioning to show the lines. Yes, correct. So it's a muscle conditioning versus a leanness conditioning. That's exactly right. Yep. It's the fullness and the roundness of the muscle, the density that pushes against the skin versus actually being super lean and hard and grainy. Okay. The lean and hard and grainy comes from dieting, right? The fullness, the roundness comes from muscle, comes from density, right? So that's exactly right, Kelby. So, that's what I mean by Val too, Valeria. I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I always say it like that. I know that's probably wrong, but anyway, whatever. That's how I'm saying it. But the same thing with her. She needs some more muscle density in order to get the conditioning right. Because if she comes in a little bit leaner, she's going to look skinny, right? She needs to get some more fullness to the muscles so that she can come in a little bit leaner and pop that out and be denser and fuller and rounder that way. Yeah, and the barn burners are going to continue. So we have shows coming up this weekend. I haven't looked. I know I don't know if there's several or if there's one. I know that the lists are out because I saw it. So we'll do that tomorrow. We'll preview the shows tomorrow. And then we'll get back to Thursday. We will do our prep update, off-season update live as well. Any other questions you guys have about New York or Pittsburgh? Because we talked about Pittsburgh too. Any other questions you guys have? I'll leave it open for another minute and then we'll be done. And as always, like I said, this is our Spotify. So if you want to listen to my commentary from when I was there, it's up on the Spotify now. So is the interview with Jessica. So go check that out. If you need a suit or you want to come into our free suit makeover webinar, I do that every Thursday here. Free webinar right here. That's suitsandposing.com. So you go to suitsandposing.com, you can go on there and you can click on that, sign up for free. If you need anything else, if you need posing, hair and makeup, whatever, then you can go to SeansCoutureCuties.com. So this is SeansCoutureCuties.com right there. That's my full website. You can get to the web, you can get to the webinar there, you can get the hair and makeup, posing, whatever you need from there, suits, all of it. Have you seen the nude shoes on stage yet? I have not. I've not seen the nude shoes on stage. I'd love to see how Amy is going to do up against Laura Lee, Issa, Jennifer, Maureen. Yeah, I think that Amy's going to be in that top call out for Olympia. I think she's going to compare very well to those girls. I think that her structure, her shape, all of that is going to compare very well. So it's going to be a matter of who comes in looking their best that day. Wellness cut bottoms for bikini. So I think you're talking about V cut, which I have been doing for years. So yeah, I like it for bikini. So what are your thoughts on Giselle's suit color? Oh, I talked about that. So you can go back and watch it when this goes in replays. I talked about the whole suit color for Giselle. For girls with higher tines like Laura Lee and Rihanna, does having larger glutes help compete with the lower? Yes. To an extent. There is such a thing as being too big. Laura Lee's glutes have been too big. But yeah, having more roundness, more fullness, more pop, always going to be a good thing. But they can become too big. There is such a thing as having the glutes be too big, for sure. Absolutely. Like, Laura Lee had that critique last year that she got too big. So, anything else? All right, guys. Well, these were two very, very fun shows. I'm glad I was there in person. I love being able to do this stuff in person too, because I can give you guys a much better wrap up afterwards because I actually saw it, and I get to talk to the competitors, and I get to talk to the judges, the coaches, all of that. So this is stuff that's coming from the people at the show. It's not just me talking out of my ass. Like I said, it's me actually talking to people at the show and getting the critiques and getting the feedback, and then so bringing it to you. And you cannot judge these shows by photos. You cannot judge these shows by live streams like you can in person. You can try. Like whenever I do my wrap ups and stuff and I wasn't there in person, I always tell you guys with the caveat of I was not there in person, right? So if I wasn't there in person, I can't say that this is exactly how it went down. But when I am there in person, I get as close to that head judge front row as I can. So that way I'm seeing the perspective that they are seeing. And I can tell you exactly what I saw on that stage. So that's what I like to do personally. I can't be at every show, but I like to try to get to as many as I can, and do it that way. So New York was a very well-run show. And I also enjoy watching the men too. I watched all of the divisions. I watched every single division. I'm a fan of the sport just as much as I am a part of it. So I enjoy all that too. So it was a lot of fun. So can't believe that it's over already for those two shows. Man, these years are going by so fast. So with that, we will preview our next show tomorrow. So we'll do the preview, and then we'll be back. Okay. So again, if you want to come work with me, suitsandposing.com, SeansCoutureCuties.com. That's where you got to go. We do hair, makeup, suits, and posing, all the fun stuff. And it comes. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we have a new pro. I should have pulled their pictures up. I thought about that, and I completely forgot to do that. We have a new pro. So Christina Tran won her pro card at Junior USA's. She won second overall in wellness. So she won her pro card while wearing one of our suits, which means she is now sponsored for the lifetime of her career with us here at Sean's Couture Cuties. So just in case you guys didn't know that, I'm pulling her photos up right now, so give me a second. In case you didn't know that, if you're wearing one of my suits when you win your IFBB pro card, then you are sponsored for life with me. So I'm pulling up Christina now. So hold on. Let me give her a little props. Okay, here she is. There we go. So Christina won her class and won second overall. That's one of our suits right there. And yeah, she's our newest Pro Performer Promise Wellness Pro from Junior USA. So congratulations to Christina, and looking forward to working with her as a pro. And then also she won a trip to the Olympia too. So if you win your Pro Performer Promise sponsorship, you also get a trip to the Olympia with the rest of the cuties. So she's got that on deck. She's got that on deck for her. So congratulations there for her. That investment paid off for that suit. Um, she does. She sparkles on stage for sure, 100%. So congratulations again. And with that, I'm going to let you guys go because I've been on here for over an hour now. Have a great night. We'll be back again tomorrow. And yeah, SusanPosing.com.